Yeah, I think it's very early on Monday morning. Udo is in the background,
Yep.
and we switch moderating after a while. So let us still wait a little bit. So if you are there, just write a short notice into the chatter button. So you see it on the right upper corner. Just write something so that we know that you are listening and that everything works well. Oh. Oh. So,
can you see the participants?
Yep, we have.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, but the question is, they have a little yellow sign in the front, but I just think that's concerning the way they are connected.
Mute.
Yeah. So if you like to just write something into the chat area, right upper corner, that you hear us, that you see us, that everything works fine.
Yeah, first time that we are using GoToWebinar.
Yeah, try out. So I just working around the yellow and the unyellow. I don't know that's implementing.
No possibility chat, but everything works, at least for me, regarding the screen and the sound. So Pirla sent me an information that it is working well, so the chat is not working.
Okay.
So we will find out. So maybe Q&A is also open. So maybe you can send us also a question or a hello on Q&A. That might be also good for us to see if it is working or not.
Okay, so everything works. Okay, fine. Right. So to say, so just wait, I think 1 more minute and then we start over.
Yes.
So yeah, it's Monday morning. And I think most of them are still thinking of the last weekend. Okay. So yeah, just to start over. Hello everyone. Just a very warm welcome to you to our early session Monday morning. We've decided to add a short seminar because we scheduled that there had been many rising hardware costs, and that probably just infect also your business. And that's why we just come together to just talk about tips and tricks, how essential it is to look which hardware you're using, and what about things like RAM and disks and RAID and all the special things you need to get more performance to your equipment. And yeah, so just starting over, I handle the microphone to Udo, and yeah, have a nice session.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Also, a warm welcome to you, to everybody today. Very early in the morning, but it does not matter. The sun is shining outside, so it might be a beautiful, beautiful day. Anyway, so I'm very glad to have you here in this session right now. And as Thomas said, we would like to talk about the hardware that we are using for an optimized VMS today. So the agenda that we have today is we are facing all the time, every day, some issues with the hardware. So out of our experience as well, that we are facing in the support team a lot of hardware questions or questions that are coming up to related to the hardware. So what we would like to do today is really to give you, first of all, an impression of what we can do when we deliver hardware from our partners. So we have certain certified hardware. So we do, as an example, an overview of what Tarox, our partner here in Germany or in Central Europe, can deliver to you. And then I would like to go to the best practice. So that does mean if you have already hardware in place or you plan to have your own hardware, what can we do with that? So what does it mean to use an RAID or our SSD, RAM, GPU in the server, network cards, client PCs, etc. So some samples how you can improve your hardware. And at the end, I would like to talk about the Mirasys version 9.10 and also the version 10. Especially in version 10, we will have a lot of changes with regards to the hardware. So I think this will be then another webinar later on this year, but we will talk about some contents so that you can also tell your customers or your colleagues what will come up with version 9.10 and then with version 10 in that way. So if everybody is happy about it, so then let's start. What hardware do we need? So we see it in our support tickets on a daily basis that we have a dilemma in that. So very often the customer is coming and saying, well, hey, my storage is full. We have calculated our storage in that way, but nowadays my storage is full. It's full much earlier than I expected. My playback stutters, so I cannot find my records, especially today. So why the hell is the hardware so expensive? I cannot answer this question right now, so everybody knows it. But how can I save costs in that way? My PC is slow. How many cameras can I put on top? So I have 32 cameras on a tower PC. How many cameras can I add to this? Maybe you are facing that some of the frames are missing. So you have in the playback, you have empty spaces in that case, or you don't have access. So yeah, there are a lot of questions that are coming up, a lot of issues. And in that case, there was a time a couple of years ago when we faced that 90% of our support tickets were raised around hardware, raised around the network cards, etc. So we would like to give you some tips, some tricks today, how you can improve this. So just a short story about the storage. So I think it was 10 years ago when I started with the company, or I was already in the company. So we had a customer in Frankfurt, a logistics center, and they had 400 cameras in total. And we have sold them a solution from Dell with a storage capacity of 30 days. Full HD cameras, 5 frames per second, 200 cameras per recorder, and then a lot of storage behind that. And then after 3 days, the customer was coming back and said, hey, my storage is full. So it's not 3 weeks, it's 3 days. And I said, what the hell is going on there? Finally, it was really funny because in our settings, you know that we have this quality slider, which is set up on 60%. This means this is a mixture of, depending on the cameras, of the codec that you are using and the compression in that way. And finally, the camera was behaving completely different than we thought in that way, and then it was described. So in that case, there was no compression at all. So we had pictures like hell in that way, and we set then up the compression to an acceptable level, and the storage was due for 30 days. So it could be so easy sometimes, but in the daily base, it's not. So first of all, this is a little bit marketing, honestly. So we want to talk about the certified hardware. So as you know, Mirasys is providing hardware from different providers. So we have Tarox here in mainland Europe. We can provide this also worldwide. So we're doing this. We have some customers who has bought this for the Chinese and Philippine branches for the US branches as well. But we're also dealing with some other vendors which are in the market. Dell, you know it from the Nordics, from the US maybe. So we have also parts inside, devices inside from Advantech. We're dealing in the US very strongly with scale computing. That means hyper-converged systems. So in that way, we have a big bunch of hardware providers, partnerships where we can tailor your hardware as you want to have it, as you want to use it, and as you need it, and also based on your budget at the end. So let me take an example with Tarox. I'm working with Tarox 2 or 3 years right now, and we have sold a lot of stuff in that. So you see also here some of the machines that we have, some server machines, a 2U server here on the bottom line, labeled with Mirasys, and we have above on this is a 4U machine that is containing, I think, up to 3 or 4 GPU cards for AI purposes in that way. So what are the advantages if you buy the hardware, independent if it is from Tarox or Dell or whoever, from us? First of all, it lowers your installation costs because all the hardware is coming with the Mirasys VMS pre-installed and configured. So this is included in the pricing. It's ready to use. You just need to put it on the customer and then start your configuration, adding cameras, etc. It is also delivered with keyboard and mouse. I thought 2 years ago, so it's not necessary to deliver it with keyboard and mouse. And then some of my partners came back and said, hey, Udo, could you add, please, a keyboard and a mouse? Because we need it. So normally our technicians does not have it. So we do it. It's not very it does not cost that much in that way. So we do it right now. The second point is really it is made in Germany or made in the US, depending on what provider you have. So we have an ISO 9001 certification. It gives you local support in that way. So if anything is happening, so you are getting the support, so you can be sure that it is maintained and also configured and set up under ISO certification in that way. And then the biggest advantage that you really have is you are getting a 5-year support for all the machines. So that means 5-year warranty on the whole machine, 5 years on-site support worldwide, even with Tarox, and you keep your broken hard disk. And this is very essential for customers who are working in the critical infrastructure, that nobody is taking the hard disk. So give me the hard disk away and maybe I can read the data. You cannot do this anyway, but for you, it is essential that you keep your hard disk. And if a hard disk is broken within 5 years, you're getting one free of charge. And this is very essential. I think this makes it worth to think about buying also hardware from Mirasys. Then one of the biggest advantages, and this is something that is coming up more and more, everybody wants to have a one-stop shop in that way. So that means one provider who is delivering everything except the camera. So we don't deal with cameras in that way, but one supplier of hardware and software. And if anything is going wrong, contact us. We are the entrance for you. So contact us and we will handle this, together with our partners. And finally, also, I was very surprised, honestly, because before we sold this with Dell logo and also with the Tarox logo on top of the machines, and then we were asked to put a Mirasys logo on this. And with Tarox, we are doing this right now. So since then, nobody is asking anymore where the software is coming from, where the hardware is coming from. So it is also an advantage for you because you can be sure that it is a Mirasys machine. And we are guaranteeing that it is working for you in that way as we have provided this to you. And then also what is very important, if you have some different requirements, so RAID configuration is included. So if you say, okay, I want to have a RAID 5, RAID 10, in that way, we configure this for you. if there is any customization, if you need, for example, fiber connectivities behind this, yeah. So, or if you need any specific hardware, for example, for ruggedized solutions or whatever, we are able to give you very quickly an offer, and which is also price attractive in that way. And you can buy it from us, and you're getting the same support in that way, same 5 years warranty, etc. So I had this case, I think a couple of weeks ago, where we have to build up very small machines, ruggedized, dust covered, etc. And we were able to deliver this to you. Virtualization, hyper-converged systems, I was talking about this. So everything is possible. And honestly, the biggest pain in the ass that we have today is really the pricing. So since I think half a year, the pricing was uplifted, let's say on a monthly base, based on the situation that we have on the market, that especially the bigger AI data centers, they are buying whatever they can buy. They are investing into bigger data centers, new data centers, and they're emptying the market. So together with our partners, we are capable to be more flexible in what we are selecting. If this CPU is not available anymore, or is too expensive, we can use another CPU, yeah. Or if this hard disk from this provider is not available anymore, we can look into other sources, yeah. It becomes more and more tricky, but up to now, we are lucky and we can deliver in time. We can, let's say, keep our pricing on an acceptable level. And this is because of the flexibility that we have with our partners in that way. So, and I'm not able to look into the future. What will the future bring this year, especially, would be very critical. But I think we're still in a position where we can deliver hardware for acceptable pricing in that way. And this is also, I think this is one of the biggest advantages right now. I see a lot of rumors in the market. I see a lot of, no, we cannot deliver anymore. Up to now, luckily, we are in this position to deliver for an acceptable price and in time. Okay. Just to give you a quick overview, so you see, for example, here a different selection. This is also part of our data sheets that we have. We have some selected systems here, like a slim, one small form factor towers, and then the servers with 1U, 2U, etc. So I can hand over this to you. If you want, just send me an email and we will deliver to you the data sheets for that. And then we have also a setup of what we can do with the single servers. So the maximum of channels, depending on resolution, etc., for sure, but for, let's say, full HD, this is our acceptable number of channels that we have inside. If you have 4K cameras or higher megapixel cameras, then we need to rethink it, and we need maybe to do a reconfiguration of that. But this is what you can expect for full HD cameras, which is acceptable. By the way, just a story about Thomas and me. So Thomas is actually installing in a hotel a solution, a Mirasys solution, and then there was a discussion about having a 4K camera to look on one single fire entrance of a fire door. And I asked, in a simple way, we asked the customer, why do you want to have a 4K camera for that? So the best way would be here maximum full HD resolution, because it gives you every details that you need. So in that case, also think about if a megapixel camera is really essential for your customer, or in sometimes if it is not enough to have a lower resolution, and so reduce also the bandwidth, reduce the storage that you need. Just as an example. All right, let's move to the best practice, because you have hardware on site. So sometimes you're doing this with your own hardware, or you have an IT department who may have a contract with Lenovo or with HP or whoever. So in that case, let's talk a little bit about the details, not into detail, but to give you an overview. So first of all, I'm already asked, Udo, how much storage do I need? How is the bandwidth, etc. So just to give you tips of some tools that we use for calculation. So I'm a friend of this second one here. You see it also here this is a screenshot from my smartphone, the CCTV calculator. It is available on in a browser-based solution or even as an app. And it gives you really a lot of tools like storage calculator, bandwidth calculator, lens calculator, angle calculator, IPv4, storage losing, budget or CPU load calculator, and all this stuff. And this is free of charge, first of all. I work very often with this. And I think this is a very good all-rounder tool so that you can use it on your daily work. The second one is from the GVSG, the storage bandwidth calculator. GVSG is a very good tool for designing a whole solution. Then it costs money, or it has a certain budget. But if you use the storage bandwidth calculator, then it gives you also a very simple tool to set up your system and to calculate the whole storage that you need. And then maybe also the camera manufacturers do have, like Axis, they do have calculation tools. I would be very careful with the calculation tools of the storage or HDD providers. Sometimes they're very curious calculations, honestly. And I made some experience with some calculations tools from them. If I recalculated this with the CCTV calculator, I got completely different numbers, or I mean really different numbers. So in that case, it's good to, if you use those tools to recalculate it, for example, with a simple tool like the CCTV calculator or the JVSG tool. I think we have time to go through this, or just to give you a slight intro into this. I hope this works now. Yeah, so moving to my browser. This is the CCTV calculator. So very simple, free of charge. And then you have really this lens calculator, viewing angle, bandwidth calculator, storage need calculator. You see a lot of possibilities that you have, down to on-with compatibility tests. Yeah. So in that case, here it gives you a bunch of tools that enables you really to set up your system, or to configure or calculate your system if you have designed it correctly or not. And then secondly, also going to this JVSG tool here. This is in different languages as well. So you see here as well, German, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Korean, Russian. I select this English one, and then you can set up the number of cameras. This is just an advantage against the calculation or the CCTV calculator. The CCTV calculator can only calculate for one single resolution and one compression. Here you can set up multiple cameras, and you can set up a complete list of different cameras, different compression rates, different resolutions, etc. So in that case, and also this is extremely accurate in that way. Nevertheless, going back to my presentation, I need to warn you, because the calculation is one side of the medal of the story. The second side is really the reality. And even here, if I'm calculating, for example, 90 terabytes, yeah, so I'm putting something on top, yeah, a certain percentage, 10%, 20%, because you cannot be sure. So if we are talking about motion detection all the time, yeah, so it could be that you have more motion in the camera than you expected before. Yeah, and even if you have constant recording, it could be that you have more traffic on the camera than you had than you thought. In that case, make it a little bit more flexible. I know hard disks are more expensive today, and I'm hoping that they will decrease the prices sooner or later if they have new capacities for manufacturing this. But please keep in mind, the reality is always different in that way, and you have to have a certain buffer, either by adding storage capacity from the scratch, or at least keeping some hard disk slots free. So if you're bumping up an 8 slot machine with 8 hard disks from the scratch, you don't have any buffer anymore. So in that case, it would be better to take this 12 slots and you have 4 slots to add new storage if it is needed. So I had this once at a customer. He came to me and said, Udo, I do not have enough storage. So I came from full HD cameras. I add some 4K cameras now, and I forget about the storage. So in that case, he needs to buy a new server in that way, or higher disks. Okay. The second point is really, what configuration do I use for the storage? So it really depends on, and we can also support you in that way. So we have our internal SDD, secure distribution, data distribution tool, which is, let's say, like and RAID 0 striping. So that means we are taking the video streams, we have multiple physical or logical disks inside, and then we are sequentially storing the video streams to the single hard disks. And if one hard disk is broken at the end, you still have a video stream with less frames in that way. So it's a little bit different than to the RAID 0 in that way. But it gives you, especially for, let's say, standard solutions, a very sophisticated tool, at least to have, even in case of a broken hard disk, to have a video streams with less seconds or less frames in that way. But if it comes to more cameras, if it comes to 4K cameras, using 4K cameras and more cameras, then we need to go to a RAID array in that way. And then I honestly, first of all, ask you if you want to run multiple cameras on a server, if you want to stress the server out, first of all, take a hardware controller. And secondly, also think about what is the budget of your customer, what is the requirement of the customer, and then you can decide what you want to do. What we do normally is using a RAID 5 or RAID 6 if a RAID is required for standard cameras. Let's say the analog cameras, full HD cameras, then it's fairly enough. The disadvantage of RAID 5 is that the writing speed and reading speed are very low. Yeah, so they're in the mid end. So if you go to 4K cameras, and this is my suggestion in that way, and you want to use a lot of 4K cameras on one single server, then go to a RAID 1+0 or RAID 10 configuration, because this gives you the fastest speed by a good fault tolerance, but it's not cheap because you need to double the space that you need in that way. And this is my suggestion. So SDD, it's fine if you have maybe 32 cameras, 50 cameras on a server, if you have 4 or 6 hard disks inside. If you don't have so many 4K cameras, then use this SDD, our internal stuff, and you're good. But if you want to have more reliability, if you want to have higher frame rates, if you want to have higher resolutions, then go and select a RAID 1. And then honestly, for 4K cameras, for multiple 4K cameras, RAID 10 is the one that I would select. If you have any questions around this, yeah, so please contact me or contact our support. They will help you with the right selection of the right configuration in that way. It's not an it's not an, let's say, do or don't. So it's just always a balance between the pricing, between the requirements of the customer and the number of cameras and the resolution of the cameras that you want to have, and we can support you in that way. Coming back to that, what I have shown to you before, where we have set up for, let's say, a tower for 32 cameras for full HD resolution. In that way, SDD is the one that you should select. And if you go to the servers, so then you saw also that you have maximum 100 cameras, 50 cameras, etc. For full HD, this is fine. For a standard configuration with SDD, this is really fine. If you want to have RAID 5 for fault tolerance, then it's okay as well, but we can run also RAID 10 on that. Okay, let's go on. Oh, this is something that I was not aware for a long time, and I learned a very good lesson in that way. Thomas, do you have a question? Because
Yeah,
you are laughing.
you love it. So that's the reason why most of the people said, yeah, but I have RAM on my system. Why doesn't it work? Because I have
Yeah,
8 of these sticks inside, but nothing is that what I expected. And so, yeah, please tell
yeah.
us why.
Okay, we can talk. We can talk for hours about that. And also, if you go into, for example, I put it here on Google, memory population and balanced modes. Everybody is telling you a different story because it's depending also on the motherboards. It's depending on the CPU that you're using, etc. So if you go to the Lenovo website, there is a lot of information. If you go to Thomas Krenn, our competitor that way, let's say, he has also a different story in that way, and also Dell. I asked this question once because our Dell Power Edges that we are delivering, they have sometimes 96 gigabyte of RAM or even more, 128. And everybody was asking why. So because it depends on the mode how you are running the controllers of your CPU in the server. For towers, for the i7, it does not play that big role. But if you run, for example, a dual CPU, Xeon CPU, and you want to run 200 cameras on a Power Edge, for example, or on our systems, on the Tarox systems, then you need to think about the balanced mode or unbalanced mode. How much RAM do you have? Because the CPU performance depends on the memory bandwidth, and the memory bandwidth depends on how you are setting up the RAM inside the machine. You can then run it on unbalanced mode. That means if you look to this here, for example, this is just a third generation Xeon CPU. You have 4 controllers, and you have here in total, I think, 16 places where you can set up the RAM. Yeah. And if you do it in that way, that you have, for example, 4 on this side and 4 on this side set up with RAM, then you have a balanced mode because it is balanced, like you're on the rope and you try to balance. Yeah. So, and if you, for example, take A7 and A3 away, then it's in unbalanced mode. And we have also near balanced mode. So in that case, it is really depending then how many cameras can you run on the system is depending on the CPU performance. And the CPU performance is depending on the memory bandwidth. And the memory bandwidth is depending on if you run it in unbalanced mode or balanced mode. If you go to the Dell website, an unbalanced mode does mean that the performance of your system is going down by 50%. I was not aware of this, honestly, until my support team told me this. Yeah, so when we have selected the hardware that we want to provide. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of our customers, of our partners, are not aware of this. If you want to run really multiple cameras on a server and squeeze it out stress it out to the end, yeah, then run it with balanced mode. So in that case, there is not a question or there is not an answer to how many cameras can I run, for example, on a Power Edge dual CPU Power Edge. It is the question of if it is balanced or unbalanced, and then we can answer this question. Honestly, today, there is also, this is also a question of energy requirement. So should I use one single server and work with 200 cameras on one single server, or should I split it to, let's say, 2 servers or 4 servers in an unbalanced mode with lower energy supply, consumption? It's also a question of cost, honestly, because I think last week I saw that the 64 gigs RAMs for servers are costing more than 1,000 euros right now. So I remember the times when they cost 200 maybe. Yeah. So in that case, if you plan to have more than the proposed cameras on the servers, then please contact us and ask us how should we then design the RAMs in that case. So it could be that we're using then the 2U machine with more RAM than you expected. And you saw it also on the list. Maybe you have identified that there was a 2U machine with an additional RAM module or 2 RAM modules on top. This was because of the balance mode, because then we can run it with, instead of 100 cameras, with 150 full HD cameras in that way. So remember, RAM does play a big role in that way. So as I said, it was a learning curve for me as well. It was a learning process for me as well. And we are taking care of this as well. Okay, another question that is coming up is, in the server, does a GPU make sense? For example, an NVIDIA card? Yes, it does. Because we do decompression in the server for H.264 and H.265. So we have encoders, decoders inside the system that needs to encode and decode the H.264 and H.265. A couple of years ago, H.265 was only related to use an Intel software hardware decoder encoder. Yeah. So today it is running also on an NVIDIA card. So, but we have also this core AVZ software encoder decoder. We have this Intel IPP library encoder decoder. We have this NVIDIA hardware encoder decoder, and we have this Intel software hardware encoder decoder. So, and depending on what you are selecting, it means that you are taking performance work from the CPU to the GPU for encoding and decoding. And that's why a hardware graphic card inside the server does make sense. In the simplest way, you're using the always built-in hardware for encoding, decoding instead of the core AVZ. Core AVZ is the standard that you're using. Meanwhile, I learned also that it is supported by NVIDIA CUDA driver in that way, so you can use also it on the NVIDIA card. But we very often, especially in the smaller solutions, when we want to run on a 1U, a cheap 1U Xeon machine, more than the proposed cameras, and we want to stretch it out, we are using an NVIDIA hardware inside the T1000 or RTX 2000 or whatever. And this is also very essential, because you need to select also the server that is capable to run an NVIDIA hardware inside, because not all of the servers can do this. So with Tarox, we have selected this, and we can run hardware inside so that you can take the encoding, decoding capacities away from the CPU. And remember, in that case, you can run also more cameras on that machine, or more duties on that machine than ever before. Just as an idea why a GPU does make sense in that way. I have one technician, a friend of mine, who is doing a lot of installations, and he's preferring this like hell. He said, Udo, it eases up the life of the CPU so much that I would like to have an graphic card inside all the servers to do the decompression here in that way. Okay. Yeah, one of the things, megapixel cameras and network cards, a nightmare sometimes. It is becoming better, but when I started a couple of years ago with that, we had also issues when customers have chosen network cards, 1 gig network cards, which were not able to get this setups done. And these are really essential to get megapixel cameras through. Yeah. So the packages through. So the receive buffer is very important to set it up on 2048. Transmit buffer is also very important to set it up on 2048. And then also we have this interruption moderation rate mode, which needs to be set up on extreme. What does it mean? So especially with megapixel cameras, 4K cameras, the packages are sometimes much bigger than the network card can buffer or can pass. So in that case, the buffer is then blocking this, or the network card is then not accepting these packages. And then it does mean that you have interrupts. So we got it very often, especially with Broadcom cards in the past, when they were used, that you're using a 4K camera and you had then interrupts every 20 seconds, or you got only every 20 seconds a picture, and that was it. Yeah. So, and the reason was for this was that the setups in the network card were not correctly done. So with our solution, with our hardware that we are delivering, this is done already. This is done during the manufacturing. But please keep in mind today also, I know Broadcom has improved also their cards in that way. Normally, we prefer to use Intel network cards because the setups can be done. And if we are using 10 gig or 2.5 gig today, so then it's a different story, because then we can set up also the receive buffer to higher values and the transmit buffer as well. Do it, please. Do it, so to make it easy for your network card to receive all the packages that you want to have. Very, very important. By the way, this is also noted in the documentation that we have in the, I think it's in the network white paper as well. So in that case, you see it also on in written notes there in the network white paper if you go to the network card settings in that way. And finally, client PC. This is a really good story. So I was coming to one customer where the operator, so when we designed the system, it was about 100 cameras for a supermarket. And when we designed the system, the customer was telling us, okay, we have there one detective and he's only watching a couple of cameras. So we sold them a small form factor PC with an Intel network card, graphic card inside. And then I was asked to come over to the customer and do a training. And I was entering this room where the detective was sitting, the operator was sitting, and he had set up 6 full HD monitors. And he was opening all of the 100 cameras. And he was wondering why this is not working. Yeah. So my personal message to you is, independent or depending on what the user is doing, really clarify with the user if he would be a super user, like in this case, or if it is just for reviewing a couple of cameras, because this is really depending then on what client PC you are using. We can make it easy for the client PC by using, let's say, a graphic card, an NVIDIA graphic card inside, depending on how many cameras he wants to use, because the decoding is normally done without any GPU on the CPU. And you can imagine that if you're opening 32 cameras with full HD or 4 megapixel, then the CPU is running like hell. So taking that away from a CPU to a GPU, and I'm very often using the RTX 4000 ADA card right now, so you can run 100 cameras easily on 4 monitors without any problems. Then the second argument why a client PC must be the best machine in the whole system is this is one of the arguments. So take a graphic card, then based on the number of cameras and monitors that you want to use to ease up the life. And this is, I know it costs, but it will ease up the life anyway. Then the second point is really, again, you have the capabilities to run the cameras in multi-streaming. That means if you have a narrow bandwidth, for example, only 1 gig, yeah, and you want to run it with a lot of cameras, then it's possible to set up the system, the spotter, in an automatic stream selection. That means you set up the cameras in multi-streaming, you set up the different streams with different resolutions, the biggest for recording, then a smaller one, and a much smaller one. And then the system can select, depending on the what size it needs to show on the monitor, what stream is the best for this and fits for this. This means reduce the bandwidth. If you have only small pictures like in this way, it's fairly enough to have, for example, an HD resolution or even less, a D1 resolution. And then the system is automatically selecting. And if you're popping up the camera for the whole screen, then it's going automatically to full HD resolution, or if you do recordings in 4K, recordings automatically streamed and recordings in the full resolution that way. A second point is also the communication between the client PC and the servers. We have a so-called data cache inside. So everything what is shown on the monitor, what is shown in Spotter, could be written into the data cache of the client PC. That means if you want to review what has happened in 30 seconds before, you're not asking or sending the request to the server. You are checking first of all your own data cache. If it is still on the client stored, and then if it is stored on the client, will show you first of all what is in the data cache, and then it's going back to the server. Honestly, you need to be careful because you are storing data on the client PC, and it must be allowed by your IT department or also the GDPR conformity officer in that way. So I know a lot of customers are not using this. This is just from my point of view that it is possible. And then finally, also depending the client PC performance is also depending on the overlay that you want to use or the plugin, because our privacy masks, our face blurring, or pixelation, or how you call it, and also the person search is using the CPU in that way. And I had one customer who was using, I think they were using in a public environment 20 cameras, and they wanted to do face blurring on all the 20 cameras. And then an i5 is not enough anymore. So in that case, you need to set up RAM, you need to set up a high perform CPU to run it efficiently in the system. And also the person search, that means searching for similar person in recordings, is using the CPU in that way. And then it depends on how fast you can search. You can set up to 64 times speed in searching for persons in different videos. And that way you have to have a good CPU inside. So my message to you is really check out what the client is doing with the PC, and if he's doing face blurring, privacy masking, person search, or if he has multiple monitors, multiple number of cameras, please select the client PC carefully, adding a graphic card, using an i7 or i9 or a better solution for that, and make happen that the usage of the PC or the usage of the system is very easily and without any interrupts, without any waitings, etc., taking coffee, etc. So my message is really save on the servers, invest into the client PC, and you are a lucky guy. Okay. Yeah. This was about the best practice, so I need to speed up a little bit because I think we had 1 hour until 10:30. I think it's correct,
Yeah,
Thomas?
12 minutes left to Buffalo. But
oh yeah, thank you.
I think it's very important just to know, how to deal with the structure of what must I do with my PC? How can I do it with a client PC?
Yeah.
And so special things. But I think, there is many things coming in future. So we are very, very much waiting for the new 10 and the V10 version. So yeah, what about that?
Okay. Yeah, so we have a final version of version 9. This is version 9.10, and then we are moving this year, I think it will be in September, October, to version 10, which will be a complete, let's say, a new revolution in that way. So just to give you a quick outlook of what we are doing with version 9.10. So there are a lot of improvements in that way, also from the usage perspective. We have implemented a lot of new features. And then version 10, we will have some words behind this. I think there will come up more information later on. So we are a little bit keep it behind the curtain because there will be a complete new architecture. But let me start with the version 9.10 first of all. So in version 9.10, we concentrated on our smart AI. So we have selected newer models. We have updated our models in that. So for facial recognition, object recognition, and also for the license plate recognition. And we are getting now better accuracy in that way. So I just can tell you out of my experience, our server-based license plate recognition has an accuracy tested by multiple customers right now between 95 and 99% accuracy. even if it is raining. Yeah, and sometimes we have tested this against a license plate recognition camera. With the same camera, we had a better accuracy than the camera itself. So in that case, I'm very glad about this. I'm very happy about this. But for facial recognition, it was a little bit different. So we have also improved, or we are improving this. So we can now detect 20 faces in one picture. And we have a very extreme good accuracy. We have reached an extreme good accuracy. So in that facial recognition can be used now also in the field. I know it's very tricky in Europe because of the GDPR conformity all the time. But we also have installations here where we are using facial detection or facial recognition in that way. And maybe you have also some cases where you can use it internally, just maybe as a second barrier for the ID card and the physical barrier that you have to enter a building or whatever. So facial recognition is really improved in that way in version 9.10. And then also object recognition, which means also here identifying the attributes of different objects, buses, cars, bicycles, people with an upper and lower color is improved. And what is also in that case improved is we're having less performance. So just give you an idea, with license plate recognition, we were able to run on an RTX 4000 ADA card a maximum of, let's say, 15 to 18 cameras. So I think with the new one in the version 9.10, we will improve this, that you can save also GPU performance in that way. So run more cameras on these high performed systems right now. Then we have set up an export of maximum of 32 streams to SEF format simultaneously. So this was a requirement for the customer. He said, okay, I'm not happy with this, that I can export only one camera or 2 or 3 cameras. He wants to have an export for 32 cameras. So we did it. We can export right now in 2 different locations at the same time. So that means to, for example, the USB stick as well to the C partition or to a network drive or whatever. At the same time, you can set up this in the export configuration. And then also 2 important items or important features that are coming up is we are now able to set up in the alarm pop-up in Spotter the live video and the playback video at the same time. You remember, if you're familiar with our system, it was only either live or playback. Nowadays, with version 9.10, we can run live video and the playback video in the alarm pop-up in Spotter at the same time. So it gives you the situation awareness of what is happening right now and what has happened right at when the alarm occurs. So in that case, I think this is really an essential improvement for us, also driven by customer again. So this shows also our customer focus. And then the peer-to-peer review. I was asking the silly question, what does it mean? Because I was not aware what does it mean peer-to-peer review. This does mean that an operator can share video streams or live and recording streams with a user that is not an operator and is not having access to the Spotter on a different PC. That means the other user has to have this Spotter player. And then there is a shared connectivity between the operator and the external user or the other user on another PC, and he can drag and drop the information that he wants to share with this customer and say, okay, look, this is what's happening there, etc., etc. So nobody, if he's sitting in a different building on a different location, so can share this simultaneously. It's a little bit like, let's say, an improved. No, it's not. It's not the monitor manager. It's really a brand new feature that enables you really by using the Spotter player on the external side for an let's say non-security user to share this information, what has happened, and guide him through the information that you want to share with him. Yeah, and then let's go to version 10. I'm pretty sure that the next webinars will be around version 10. And I know also that we are planning a partner meeting or partner session, a European or worldwide partner meeting, I think, for 2 days in autumn, so to present version 10. Version 10 will come in 3 steps over the next 1.5 years. And the first thing is this will be a complete new architecture. I don't want to tell too much details about it, but you can await from us that we are dealing with older hardware in a much more sophisticated way than ever before. You can also expect that also redundancies will run in a complete different way than ever before. And also what I have discussed before, or what I have told you before, how many cameras can I add to this system? How many AI channels can I add to this system? So we will have also a prediction about that, so that you have a calculation tool inside that tells you you can add still this X amount of cameras. You can still add this X amount of AI channels to the system. So a lot of new features, a lot of new potential things are coming up, which from my perspective right now are saving hardware costs, which are protecting you against buying your hardware all the time, keeping your hardware as it is. And this is something that is very, very unique in the market. And finally, the first version will solve our issues that we have. We will present our new mobile app. You see one snapshot here from the mobile app that will come up for Android and iOS. So in the end of summer, it is time to deliver the mobile app. And we will have also a unified AI platform, which means at the end, independent of if you're using our AI platform, if you're using an external AI platform, or if you're using the intelligence of the camera, everything will be unified in one data center or in one data platform on one dashboard, so that you can mix and match these different solutions that you are running and create reactions out of this, create events out of this, create alarm out of this. Mobile app and unified AI platform are coming this year, and the new architecture is coming step by step, as I mentioned, in 3 steps over the next 1.5 years. Yeah, okay. So this was a lot of stuff that I have given to you within the last 55 minutes. I think maybe I raised some question marks, maybe I raised some ideas and also some annotations. I don't know. Oh, Q&A.
Yeah,
I
the
was
Q&A
too
session.
fast. The Q&A session.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you see the upper corner, right side, upper left, the question mark, just point on, and then you see the links Udo provided us for the calculations. And yeah, feel free just to add some questions from you. Otherwise, you had to contact us directly. So that's the easiest way, just to put your questions inside the Q&A session.
I would say as well, because I think we raised a lot of thoughts right now, and maybe a couple of question marks or also ideas or projects that came to your mind, just contact us. So we recorded this as well, so it's also then put into our YouTube channel in a couple of days. But I think we are, my team, especially our support team, and then also Tarox, Dell, whoever it is, can help you a lot in designing, let's say, a cost-effective system for your customers or for yourself. And I think this is extremely essential to cooperate in that way right now, because as you see, the hardware prices are exploding. So in that case, we cannot work with we put an additional hard disk to this, because this does mean much more money than ever before.
Yeah.
Have you seen any questions?
Yeah,
so far?
The question was, thanks. Glad to hear from you.
Okay.
No questions from Maxime, and so yeah, still very quiet. But on the other hand, just get in contact with us, and I think that the designing and the getting more out of your system is sometimes very tricky. So just ask, and if you have some specific questions, or if you have some things outside in the world and just said, hey, it's not working that way I expected, just get in contact with us. That's why we are there.
And if you have any critical comments, it was too theoretical or whatever, just let me know. So we are learning case by case. And we are very happy if you are getting your feedback.
Yeah, and I think that in a couple of 1 month, 2 months, then we get the ordinary session back. So then the session number 4, and I'm not sure what we tell you, but I think it's very interesting, like this one. So stay tuned.
All right.
Okay, then.
Thank you very much for your attention, and wish everybody a nice day.
Yeah, have a nice day and a nice week, and till the next time.
See you then. Cheers.
Bye bye.